Live from the studios of News Talk Radio 580 CFRA, downtown in the heart of the Byward Market. Welcome to Sunday Night. Here's Rabbi Bulka.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our program. If you think that I have a cold, you are right. Actually, I don't know whether I have a cold or a cold has me, but whatever the case, we're trying to disassociate, and it's not going that well. But I'm better today than I was yesterday and the day before, because then I wouldn't have been able to do this. I hope it's not too much of an impediment, because the program that we have tonight is actually much too important. We're going to begin with our normal segment for United Way, which in itself is very important because we're going to feature something very intriguing about United Way. And then a program that you will not want to miss because it touches so many of us. So let's begin with the co-leader and director of communications at LiveWorkPlay, Keenan Wellar. Keenan, how are you?
I'm very well. Sorry to hear about your cold. I'm just getting over my own.
You are?
Yes,
Did I get yours?
No, I hope not.
Oh, okay. Because I know you're a sharing guy.
Very kind.
But you're not that type of share. Did you quarantine yourself when you had the cold?
Pretty much. I work from home.
Yeah, that's good. I was not able to totally quarantine myself, but, you know, instead of shaking hands, we do the elbow.
Oh, I did the fist bump, yeah.
You did the fist bump?
Yeah.
I do the elbows. Maybe if I get arthritis in 5 years from now, I'll know why. It was the cold that got me the arthritis.
Oh, no.
Live, Work, Play. So you had your 20th anniversary in June.
Yes, thanks for your help with that. That was great.
That was fun, huh?
It was.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about Live, Work, and Play. It's not the same yet as the Boys and Girls Club. It's getting up there, right, in terms of public awareness about what it's all about. But every time we talk about it, we still have to begin by saying, what is it, right?
Absolutely, and that's very kind. Boys and Girls Club has an incredible legacy, not only here, but obviously in
sure.
a great many communities, whereas we are definitely a homegrown Ottawa story. 20-year anniversary just completed, and definitely people getting to know us better, I think, because over the past 10 years in particular, a lot of our work, it's a lot more time really networking with our community to kind of make sure it's a more welcoming place for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and that is our focus. It used to be more focused on the individuals, and now it's really more focused on, well, they are who they are, and there's nothing wrong with them, and so what can we do to increase their rates of living in homes like other citizens and having jobs and, going out and being active and being valued.
Right. You must have had a little bit of a goose-pimpleish experience when you saw that thing last week about the fellow who hit the basket.
Well, yes.
Wasn't that something? Yeah.
What we'd like to see is less of that. It wouldn't be news anymore because there would be people with disabilities participating all the time. And so it's nice to see that. At the same time, it reminds us that people are still see it as very unusual that a person is being included. And so kudos to that team. But then how can we make this a regular thing that we're all together all the time?
Right.
Exactly.
Because beforehand, somebody like that would have been shunned, ignored. So now they're applauded. And the next step is, after they're being applauded, now treat them normally. That's the next step.
You stated it beautifully.
Right. So, a book, a new and expanded office?
Yes.
So where are you located now?
We're down at Bank and Riverside in the old PEB building, which has had a refresher. And
really? The PEB building?
Yeah, you know it well, I'm sure.
Yeah, I know where it is. Right, so across the street from Billings Bridge Plaza.
Been home to many a charitable organization, and still is a nice mix of people, and we've got a nice overlook on the Rideau, and it's comfortable with parking for our guests who drive, and it's been good for our staff.
It's an ideal location. It's like central and reachable from so many places.
Yeah, it's working great, and I guess best of all, we needed the space because we've been kind of surprised, but I mean, it's like all things, a lot of planning, and you have to be ready for opportunities, and so we've been able to help a lot more people really just over the last year, and almost doubled in size, really.
Yeah, can you give us a sort of an idea of numbers?
Yeah, well, we now work with over 100 individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, including autism and Down syndrome, and our staff is we're approaching about 20 full-time staff, about 150 volunteers, and probably work with over 80 community volunteers and partners and over 50 employers, which is really one of the most exciting results.
And we want to make sure that they have jobs, that they can even be self-sufficient at home. This is quite a breakthrough.
And it's a big change in perspective. I think there's a lot to be proud about in Canada and Ontario and Ottawa that, for this population, there's been a safety net. And I think it's a matter of, in the recent years, we've realized, well, we can't be too comfortable that people's destiny isn't to have a safety net. They want the same things the rest of us want, to be valued and to contribute and to have networks and work networks and personal networks. And so we've seen kind of, as a province especially, there's been an explosion in the past 1 or 2 years just with more and more young people coming out of high school and their families, and their expectation is very different. They don't necessarily want to be in a program. They want to experience life in the same way as their siblings or their peers around them.
So I think the mission statement is really quite, mission statements are great because they say in one sentence a very pointed message. So your mission statement is helping the community welcome people with intellectual disabilities to live, work, and play as valued citizens.
Yes, sir.
Do you think one day those words, intellectual disabilities, is going to change to challenges or maybe to some other word?
Probably not. I think, if we look at, maybe other disability populations that are, in the mainstream, so to speak, and, well established in the work life and social life of our community, they tend to, they just want to say what their disability is. And I think we'll probably find that is the same case. I think what we'll find, though, is we'll just have to mention it less because it won't matter. They'll just be Dave or Bob or Susie.
Right.
Yes.
Because, I can see that down the road people say, why do you call that a disability? Because I have abilities in other areas that other people may not have. So why focus on that? Actually, this is what you're all about, is focus on what they can, not on what they can't do, but what they can do, and what they can do is enormous.
Absolutely. In fact, often the last times we need to talk about it is, after people go through the requirements of, receiving the supports, and they do have to apply. It's tied to taxpayer funding, all that kind of thing. But, so that in that sense, it's necessary. But, once all that's underway, it's really about what you can do. And I guess the biggest thing we've learned over the 20 years is there is no assessment procedure or process or file or label that will tell us what that is. And so this is a big part of our success in working with the United Way and others on employment and disability, is that let's stop running people through I remember doing these tests back in high school with the punch cards to tell me what I should do for a career.
Right.
Well, it's not what I'm doing.
By the way, one of the things that I find so fascinating about them is their loyalty is off the charts. Their ability to be grateful and to basically park their egos at the door. It's something that we can all learn from. That's
the assets-based message, and why it's a business case for hiring.
100%.
Absolutely.
They're going to leave someone for a better offer if they feel that they were well taken care of. Excellent. Can you imagine national football and hockey working like that? Are you crazy? So Keenan, before I let you go, do you want a soapbox for 30 seconds about why people should support United Way?
Well, gosh, I think it's, for me in the last few years, it's been the ability to bring people together and solve problems. So I know including our charity, there's thousands out there. But if you want to pick a particular issue and make a donation and know that it's going to be used carefully and appropriately based on research and working together, I think that's really, for me, the best reason.
That's great. I have a suspicion that if I poked you in the middle of the night and said, give me a United Way speech, it would come out, right?
I would manage.
Keenan, thank you a million. Pleasure.
My pleasure.
Keep up the great work.
All right, bye for now.
Bye-bye. That's Keenan Wellar, who's co-leader and director of communications for LiveWorkPlay, one of the important organizations in the important endeavors of United Way. When we come back, a very special guest on a very important topic you will not want to miss.